Hey guys, it's Callus. Thanks for joining me. We've got ourselves a round 2 lower bracket set. This is an elimination match between Fear and Elodin, or Elodin, however you want to pronounce it. Both of these players were top 12 finishers in this tour last year, so it is unfortunate that, of course, one of them will not be, no matter what, this year. Now, granted, from the lower bracket, somebody could still win the entire tournament, so one of these guys could make a run, win the whole thing, but one of them is going to be out here, and it's surprising to see either of these players go 0-2, quite frankly. They've both been pretty solid. Like I said, last year, good performances, and then Fear in particular has back-to-back top 12s coming into this. He did go 0-2 in the original CALLOUS Invitational, but not only did he have hard opponents, but that was 3 years ago. At some point, you've just got to let it go. By and large, he's been really reliable, and like I said, tough pairing. Unfortunate to see these two against each other. One of them's got to go. It's as simple as that. So let's find out who it's going to be. It's a best of 3, round 2 lower bracket, CALLOUS Invitational 4. Here is game 1. Elodin bottom side, Fear top side, Meta and Zap respectively. Standard leads here. It's a switch to Rachi, thinking Rock Slide or Mash. It is neither of those things. Here comes Jolteon. Here's a BP immediately as Rachi stays in. Here's Tyranitar, pretty safe. And Body Slam with a 60% chance of paralysis, thanks to Serene Grace, does indeed find para. However, it is Lumberied away. Good trade, though. Body Slam removing the Lumberry there with basically no consequence is a good turn for Fear. This is less exciting. He does get paralysis on Cloyster on the way in, sure, but who really cares about the damage there? The para rather. The damage was paltry. It's just para. It only matters if he gets full para, which conveniently he does. He doesn't even get a spike down. As the Zapdos comes in, that actually could end up mattering quite a bit. If he never establishes a spike, that one turn there is going to be really, really key. And the difference between one spike and 0 spikes is crucial, especially for what seems like a very offensive team for Elodin. Jolteon's another poke. The Cloyster doesn't care about the power in general unless he's full powered, but the Jolteon hates the paralysis. It is way less effective, way more vulnerable when it can't rely on its amazing speed stat. So that was just a really good one for Fear as well. I definitely think Fear is ahead in the early stages of this game. Here comes Rachi. Meteor Mash going to miss. That doesn't seem like a huge deal against what I presume is an Asterachi, which is a very bulky poke. That would not have done too much, and it's resisted. Here comes Fire Punch on Cloyster, 27%. It'll be another opportunity for Elodin to get a spike down. He should certainly stay in and try to do that. Here's Fire Punch. Wow. Wow, another full para against the Cloyster. Very unlucky. 2 full paras out of 2 after getting paralyzed by the Body Slam. Cloyster has very much been on the bad end of the luck, and Elodin is really struggling in this early game because of it. He hasn't been able to establish a spike. He's gotten unlucky multiple times. Fear definitely feels ahead to me in the first dozen turns here. Moltres snuck in on Fire Punch. Jirachi should be very scared here. Does Elodin go for Will-O-Wisp again? He does not. This is the wrong play. He's going to go Fire Blast. It doesn't do that much against Coon, and it's going to cost him 2 PP thanks to the pressure ability, but Will-O-Wisp there would have been better as it turns out. Surf on the incoming Jolteon. 40% is a nice chunk on the way in. Jolteon won't be faster because of the paralysis, but it can live a Surf and threaten with that Stab Thunderbolt if that's what he wants to do. But instead, it is another full para against Elodin. His Pokemon cannot get out of the wheelchair. They've been crippled all throughout the game. And here is Gengar now, the final poke for Elodin. Makes sense to me that it would be something like that. It is a very offensive team for him, and he's trying to protect his spikes, even though he hasn't established them yet. Fear is going to swing and a miss with Frustration. He's now going to switch it up with Thunder on Lax, and he's going to get yet another paralysis. Ridiculous. Fear has paralyzed 3 Pokemon, and they seem to full para at will. Another switch, but man, even though it is a 6-6 game right now, on paper a tie, it feels like Fear is significantly ahead at this time. They're going to trade Fire Punches. Gengar, who's faster and hits harder, is going to have the advantage here. No burn for either guy. Rachi, of course, twice as likely to find a burn. Hypnosis comes down as Jirachi stays in. This, finally, is a good turn for Elodin. It's going to catch him up a bit. Jirachi, definitely one of the better pokes on the opposing squad that you could put to sleep. Gengar now going to get aggressive, go Fire Punch again. He did 37% the first time and then 43% the second time, illustrating a rough idea of what the damage range is here. And he's now going to get some more hacks, so Elodin is now going to catch some breaks. He's going to burn the Snorlax on the way in. 10% chance of doing that with his Fire Punch. Jolteon comes in at this point in case it's a Shadow Ball or a Boom. Money prediction for Fear. Earthquaking into the Gengar. Maybe he thought Meta would come in, but Jolteon works even better. And despite the burn, he's going to be able to kill that with a little help from the sand. Fear now with the official lead. Self-destruct going to come up just short of killing Meta, but it's very weak and paralyzed. Meta is not going to stay around for too long, and man, this Zapdos looks like a massive threat now that Jolteon is gone. I do not see good switches into this for Elodin defensively. Best thing you can do right now is check it offensively with Tyranitar, but this is a temporary solution to a bigger problem. I hate this Thunder Wave for Fear, begging to get his Zapdos killed. I think his Zapdos is a massive threat, and I think that's a bad Thunder Wave. I think he just threw away what was a very potent offensive weapon. Cloyster can't deal, Moltres can't deal, Gengar doesn't switch into it. I mean, even the T-Tower doesn't really switch into it. He does it better than the others, but he doesn't like coming in on Thunderbolts by any means. I absolutely do not agree with the Thunder Wave for Fear. I think that was a greedy and unnecessary play. I think he had switches into T-Tower on that turn. I really dislike that decision. Nevertheless, with all the paras and all the breaks he caught early on, I think Fear is still in a pretty good place, despite me not agreeing with that play. And we will see where it goes from here. Gengar is going to come in. He's going to blow up on Kun. Wow, is that a weak Boom and or a bulky Kun? Only 46% from Explosion. Very underwhelming. But it should be good enough for Moltres to kill it with HP Grass nevertheless. Sleeping Jirachi comes in. That's going to take almost nothing from HP Grass. He may be trying to bait out a Fire Blast with the Kun, cost even more PP. He also could wake up and go for pressure or Protect here, and that's exactly what happens. It's an Asterachi, like we said, so he's going to have Protect, Body Slam, Wish, and Fire Punch. We've seen all but Wish, but he will have it, and Fire Blast there is protected against. Now he goes to Kun trying to bait another Fire Blast, and he gets it, but that's going to cost him 2 PP. So even though this says 5, he actually only has 3 Fire Blasts left, and he has to be careful because Jirachi can protect and milk even more out of him. Got to protect again. And good for Elodin there, predicting that. Goes for Will-O-Wisp. Does not want to waste the precious Fire Blast PP that he has left, especially if this Moltres could potentially sweep, which is possible depending on what Fear has in the back. That is a bad time for a miss for Elodin. He's had a number of pieces of hacks go against him in this game, and he's finally going to Fire Blast him on the next turn, which was a free Protect turn, by the way, but he predicted that he wouldn't go for it, and he's going to get him, so he's got 1 Fire Blast left. Here comes a Jinx in the back for Fear. Probably not a Pokemon that Elodin was expecting in this situation. There's the sub and a missed Fire Blast. That is double insult to injury. Not only does he not pop the sub, but that was his final Fire Blast. Elodin is in some damn trouble. Here is Calm Mind, and all Moltres can do is Hidden Power. Doesn't even pop the sub, and Elodin is in deep trouble. This Jinx is gonna clean up. He has run out of Fire Blast. There's just nothing he can do. That freeze there is insult to injury. That was unnecessary. He was dead either way, but the freeze is going to just rub it in his face that Fear has gotten quite a bit of boosts from the luck, from the hacks in this game. Nothing Elodin can do. He's going to go just to his paralyzed Cloyster. It's the last guy left. Not going to concede. Gonna go through the motions. Ice Beam gonna come up just shy. Sand will finish the job. There's the Surf to pop the sub. Why not? But the Sand, like I said, will end it. And game 1 going to Fear. and there were hacks both ways, but I do feel that more hacks and more relevant hacks went the way of Fear. He caught several breaks in that game, especially early on. Many paras went his way, and that forced a lot of awkward plays out of Elodin. Elodin, despite having multiple opportunities, was never able to establish even a single layer of spikes, and that made things a lot easier on Fear. So a little hacksy in this game. I don't want to take anything away from the skill of the players, but certainly Fear, I think, got the better end of it there, and it was very difficult for Elodin. It didn't feel like there was too much that he could do, or like he did anything blatantly wrong. All right, let's move on to the next game in this best of three. We'll do it all in one video for the sake of avoiding spoilers. Here is game 2 between Elodin and Fear. I don't need to tell you what happened in game 1 because if you're here, you just watched it. So let's get into the second game. Keeping in mind this is the lower bracket, so if Elodin were to lose this game, he'd be eliminated. If he were to win, it'd be go to a game 3, and the loser there would be eliminated. So Salamence and Zapdos lead respectively. Hidden Power super effective. That was HP Ice aimed at Salamence. Probably would have killed it. So good thing Celebi takes it a lot better despite it being super effective. He's going to get a Leech Seed off. And between the Intimidate and the Leech Seed, Zapdos is very unlikely to BP here. He's going to just simply switch. And there is Recover from Celebi. I don't know that I would go for it if I'm Fear. He sees it differently and he does go for it. But he's going to get nailed with HP Grass, which, I mean, that's exactly what you're risking, right? Your Hidden Power is basically never going to kill against what you already know based on the Zapdos damage is a very bulky Celebi. And a lot of the time, they do, in fact, have a Grass attack. This time he did, and Fear is going to lose his Dugtrio to an HP Grass. I don't know that I like the decision to go for it for Fear. I think I would have pulled it back. But he sees it differently, and here comes Breloom. I don't know that I like that curse from Elodin as opposed to trying to pop the sub. He is now in some trouble. He's going to get spored, and there very well may be some focus punches about to come down from Breloom. Indeed, that's what's happening here. It's a focus punch. Claydol coming in and takes it okay at 31%. The question is, can Breloom do anything else to this Claydol? And the answer is probably no. And in fact, he does just go for another focus punch. Psychic pops the sub. Focus Punch a little bit more this time at 33% instead of 31%. Claydol safe here from, I think, even a critical hit Sky Uppercut. So not going to go for it, of course. He gets out of the way, and the resulting switch, since Elodin switched as well, is the lead Salamence against this tower here. We see that Salamence is not gaining lefties. And there is what I can only assume a CB Brick Break that's going to connect with Coon as opposed to T-Tar. We end up now with Coon on Coon. That was previously unrevealed for Elodin. We now have a 6-5 situation with one unrevealed on both sides. Breloom is going to be met by Salamence here. Can't put anything to sleep thanks to Sleep Claws. And as such, Salamence is relatively safe here. He's not getting lefties, so every bit of chip damage on the Salamence absolutely counts. But the Salamence is a real threat here, and I'm very surprised that Fear leaves the Breloom in to let this happen. Must have been anticipating some kind of double switch, but he is incorrect, and he's going to eat a pretty big Brick Break for his troubles. At this point, Fear gets out of the way. He does not want to give up the Breloom just yet. Interesting that he opts to go to Coon as opposed to Zapdos when he knows that the opposing Mence is stuck on Brick Break. I think I would have gone to Zapdos instead if I were Fear. But he's going to see it differently, and he's going to make a double switch, getting Breloom in now against Coon. Like I said, the Lax is still asleep from the Spore, so he does not have an option to sleep something else. He decides to just go for an aggressive play. Sky Uppercut, okay damage at 29%. Going to be met with a Surf that Breloom is going to survive with the sand by the skin of its teeth. And Fear is again not willing to give up the Breloom. He gets out of the way. He decides to go to his previously unrevealed Jirachi, which of course is his last Pokemon. So there's only one hidden poke in the game. It belongs to Elodin. Calm mind here. Breloom is coming in, I guess, to get a Sky Uppercut off, right? I mean, if he's in here, that's what he's doing. He's got nothing better to do. And he's going to go for the Sky Uppercut. He's going to do 26% on the way out. Surf will send him to the grave. And we've got ourselves a 6-4 lead for Elodin here, who is down a game but is looking pretty good in this game to send us to a game 3. Fear is going to come in with Zapdos, trying to scare it off. And he does do so successfully, despite the Calm Mind boost. He's going to Thunderbolt. He's going to connect with Magneton. Mag is gaining lefties here, as it often does on Mag-Doll teams. Not as important for it to carry a Magnet when you have that Claydol backup. Thunderbolt coming down. That's going to do 34% to T-Tar here, which also has lefties. Toxic going to connect. And that's going to cost Magneton its life. Down that goes to a Fire Blast. So we now have ourselves a 5-4 situation. Salamence comes in with the Intimidate. We know that he's CB. We know that he is Brick Break. Fear's got to be careful here. Potential for a knockout on just about anything should the right decision be made. And he goes for Brick Break here, which against the Coon does not look like it'll get him. Without the sand, that is, on the next turn. He's going to go for it anyway to keep the pressure on, but here comes Zapdos, who takes it pretty well with his resistance. 54% he'll be at after lefties, and Mence must get out of the way, and does. Here comes Lax. Here is Substitute. Fear taking the opportunity on what he predicted correctly to be a switch from Elodin to gain some offensive momentum. He's going to be able to pass the sub somewhere, or he could stay in and hide behind it and go aggro. He's going to do that. He goes Thunderbolt. He's going to get a crit on the Lax, and the Lax is sleeping and cannot fight back. Thunderbolt again, 23%. Lax wakes up at this point, and he's going to just put himself right back to sleep. Fair enough. See if Fear wants to continue with this, or if he sees it better to baton pass elsewhere. And he's going to continue with his assault. There is a 25% Thunderbolt as Lax kills a sleep turn. He's on a set sleep schedule here. Since it was rest, we know exactly when he's going to wake up, and both players are aware of this information, so we'll see what they both want to do with that. Thunderbolt again from Zapdos. Lax is due to wake up on this turn. See if he takes the opportunity to pop the sub, or if he simply goes back to sleep. There's Thunderbolt. There's the wake. And again, it is rest from Elodin, playing it very, very conservatively. Could have potentially popped the sub there, survived Thunderbolt barely on the next turn, and then gotten a rest off, but is choosing to do this instead. He's definitely begging for a critical hit from Fear, and he's got quite a few more opportunities, 17 more Thunderbolts to find a crit, so I don't know about this play for Elodin, but he is going to try to hang in there for dear life. Once again, the Lax is due to wake up on this next turn. Will he change it up this time and go for an attack to pop the sub? There's Thunderbolt. Here's the wake. And there is return. He does make the aggressive play this time. Certainly looks like a rest turn now. He should survive the Thunderbolt here at 29%. And Fear takes the opportunity to get out of the way. He is done with this. Here comes Jirachi. And there is the rest, which he's kind of obligated to do. And even if he had gotten cute and made a prediction, I don't know what he really could have done to this Rachi anyway. We don't know the last move. Could be Earthquake. But even if it was, it would not be enough to kill the Rachi there pending a critical hit. And I don't think it's going to be Earthquake either on this team. He doesn't have a Pursuit user or a way to remove Gengar. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. It's probably just last move Shadow Ball. But the issue now for Elodin is how to deal with this Rachi, which is setting up right in front of his face. He hasn't shown anything other than Calm Mind, but this seems like a real threat. Thunder there is a swing and a miss on Claydol, but usually Thunder is paired with Ice Punch. It's usually Bolt Beam, and indeed that is what we're looking at here. Claydol is going to get donked by that +2 Ice Punch. What was a 6-4 game is now a 4-4 game. Fear mounting the comeback here, and Elodin does not seem to be in such a good spot anymore. In fact, he's now behind. There's the Ice Punch knockout on Celebi, and Elodin is desperate. He's going to go to a sleeping Lax here, and he can't even paralyze it. He's got return as opposed to body slam, so I'm not sure how he's thinking he's going to get out of this, but we're going to find out. He's going to begin cursing up, and he's going to try to either stall out the Rachi or somehow beat it down, despite having what I think is return and Shadow Ball, which are both resisted by the Jirachi. I don't know what the plan is here. It almost felt like he needed to go to Salamence and just go for the Earthquake and hope that he gets a crit. I really don't know how this gets him out of it, but this is what Elodin's going for. He's cursing up against this Rachi, and he's trying to beat it up despite the resistance. He's taken the Ice Punches fairly well, 20%. Here's another Ice Punch, 21%, but that is exactly what he has to worry about. Stupid Serene Grace kicking in at any given time. There's the freeze, and he better thaw immediately or he is in big trouble, but he does thaw immediately, and he gets the rest off. So Elodin continues to fight on, but man, it is scary that Rachi could just Thunder crit you or freeze you or whatever nonsense at any given time, and it continues to boost up as the Lax sleeps. These pokes are both very boosted at this point. This can really get ugly very quickly if one of them lands a crit or what have you. Fear went for the Thunder, didn't connect, and Lax is due to wake up. Here's Thunder again. There's a massive 87% crit, and I believe that's going to end the game. Return there pretty hefty, and return at 48%, but I believe the Lax simply dies to the follow-up Ice Punch now, and I think that's probably it. Elodin is not willing to give up the Lax. He's going to go to the Coon here. That's going to get frozen on the way in, because why not? But really what Elodin's doing is he's sacrificing something so he can get the Salamence in to scare out the Jirachi. And as it turns out, this Jirachi doesn't even have Wish. He shows his last move Hidden Power here, so it's an aggressive Calm Mind 3 attack variant. Nevertheless, Salamence is going to come in to try to get him out of there. Fear stays in and forces the Earthquake out of Elodin, and Elodin obliges. So now Zapdos knows he's completely safe here. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. This game looks over to me. Here comes Lax. There is Thunderbolt. And yeah, it's just going to be the Salamence remaining now. Don't know how it would beat all three of these Pokemon. And it's on the clock of the sand. But reality is the Zapdos is going to be faster, and whether it is Thunderbolt or HP Ice, both of which he has, he's going to pick his favorite, he's going to click it, and he's going to kill the Salamence and eliminate Elodin. Like I said, Elodin was a top 12 finisher in this tour last year. Unexpected and disappointing to see him go out with an 0-2. But the reality of this tournament is that 8 players out of the 32 on any given year do in fact go out with an 0-2, and sometimes it's a really, really good player. That's just the nature of the beast. 8 of the guys, which is 1/4 of the field, so 25% of these guys have to go out with that 0-2 record. Sucks to see it from Elodin, who I think was fairly motivated for this tour and gave us a really good pre-tour interview that you guys should go check out if you haven't already. And like I said, talented dude, top 12 finish last year. This is not his year. He's going to be out the door, and he's going to have to leave it to his fellow Brazilians. PDC also knocked out Dexa earlier in this round, so that's another Brazilian out the door. It is going to be only Kratos, Mana, and Tamahome left to represent Brazil in this tour. Elodin, thank you for playing. Appreciate it. Perhaps I'll see you next year. But the winner here is going to be Fear. He will avoid the 0-2 and live to fight another day. He is still in pursuit of that title. We'll see if he can get there, but one thing at a time. More content coming up. Please do give a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and if you've been enjoying the tour as a whole so far. Thanks for watching.